Welcome to our channel. What happens when a chance encounter leads to a nightmare? Join our protagonist as he meets a girl who turns his world upside down. Will he be able to uncover the truth before it's too late? Watch now to find out in this suspenseful and mysterious story. I was never very interested in going out. I'm more of a stay-at-home with a pizza and a horror movie sort of guy. However, I've been feeling quite lonely recently. Specifically in the category of relationships. See, I've never had very good luck with the dating scene. In any case, most people nowadays choose to use dating apps. In the electronics field, I don't have much more than a hand-me-down laptop and an old flip phone, so you might call myself an old-school type of guy. My mother often asks me when I'm going to marry and start a family, despite the fact that I'm 32 years old. She seems to believe that unless I'm shacked up behind a white picket fence with 2 hairy dogs and a kid on my wife's hip, I'll never find happiness. I decided it was time to go out because my coworker Mike had called and literally begged me to join him and a couple of his close friends at the bar tonight. I took a shower, brushed my teeth, and put on some perfume that hasn't left the medicine cabinet since I received it for Christmas. I was trying not to overthink my outfits because I wasn't looking to impress anyone. I went for a blue button-down shirt and gray jeans. Cuffed. As I rolled up one of my pant legs, I thought to myself, "No, that seems weird." I grabbed my keys, left the house, closing the door behind me, and walked out to the driveway, where my 2018 Chevy Aveo parked. "Hey there, old girl," I said to the car as I touched her on the icy, gray hood. I noticed it had started to rain as I pulled into the gravel driveway of the bar, so I reached into the back of my vehicle to grab an umbrella. I immediately recognized I must have left it at work last week when it rained early in the morning but turned out to be a lovely day by the end of my dragging shift. "Just my luck," I said, focusing my eyes at the small raindrops running down my windshield. I took a deep breath, jumped out of my car, and raced up to the door of Motley's, Richland's smallest bar. Stepping inside, I brushed off the water on my clothes and looked around the room, hoping to find Mike and his buddies. That's weird. They were not there. In fact, a scraggly old man behind the bar giving drinks to a man who had definitely gone through some sort of tough period and chose to come take the pain away. There was just one other person. A lady. She was pretty, with long blonde hair and a light complexion, and she appeared to be a great pool player. She chalked up her pool stick and set herself up for a fresh round as she stood in the corner of the room under dim lighting. Her body language had me totally hooked. I must admit, it's been a while since I've seen a woman who was truly my type and hadn't met her on business. My phone rang. I almost burst out screaming. I pulled my phone out of my rain-soaked pocket and examined the little screen. "Mike's number," he says. I answered with displeasure in my voice. After all, as I already mentioned, I'm not the type of man that likes to go out, yet here I am by myself. "Yeah?" I replied. "Hey. I apologize for not calling earlier. I was stuck at work in Dash. And you're not going to make it? I'll catch up with you next time, buddy. Sorry." I hung up without saying anything. I sighed and flipped my phone closed, putting it back into my pocket. "Are you having problems with your friends?" Behind me, I hear a soft voice. I laughed and turned around, rubbing the back of my head. I assume they're not coming. "Well, why don't you grab a drink and come play around with me?" She said this as she picked up another stick and chalked it up. "Oh no, I'm okay," I said. My thoughts began to race, and my cheeks began to flush. "Oh come on," I insist. "My name is Sarah." She gave me a kind look. She had a lovely smile. Her teeth were perfect, and her face was strangely symmetrical. Oddly, she moved gently around the table. The balls were already arranged in a perfect triangle, pointing straight towards her. "You go first." With her big smile, she said it enthusiastically. "All well, but I must warn you. I'm not very skilled at this game. Don't be concerned. It's all for fun, right?" She replied. "Right." I shrugged my shoulders and cocked my head to the side. She asked if I wanted to play another round after a game that ended out much better than I expected, and much talking about our job, casual questions getting to know one another, and a little conversation about why I was so angry with Mike for once again inviting me out and leaving me. "Sure," I said gladly. I have to admit that I was enjoying the company and the conversation. Nowadays, most ladies, or should I say girls, simply want to get right into physical things. Or just cannot have a conversation about anything other than reality TV drama or social media likes. How about we spice it up a bit this time? She had this expression on her face that I couldn't quite describe. "Tell me what you're thinking, and I'll say yes or no." The room was quiet. The old CD jukebox had just stopped playing "We've Only Just Begun" by the Carpenters with a little disturbing dull and twisted tone. I approached her with a confused expression on my face as she placed both hands on the edge of the pool table. I'm waiting for her bet. The room seemed to darken somewhat, and I could hear the now heavy rain spackle on the bar's tin-like roof. "If I win, I want you," she replied quietly. Her head hung low enough that her beautiful, freshly washed blonde hair fell to the sides of her cheeks, but her smile, it got somewhat larger than before. She looked up at me, as if expecting a response. I mumbled. That had never been said to me by a lady before. I really didn't know what to say. "Well..." She became impatient, tapping her well-knit fingers on the wood panel table side. "What do you say?" I figured this meant we'd be returning to my apartment. I hoped she wouldn't mind the smell of microwave Chinese food or the noise of the neighbors. Aside from a few pieces of old furniture in my king-size bed, that was pretty much nothing for my home. "And what if I win?" I stated clearly. I felt like I was prepared for anything was going to happen. She was a mature, gorgeous woman with an open mind who could have a good conversation. "We'll see what happens." While still smiling, she winked at me. It's almost as if she didn't stop smiling at me. We start the game. It started off as regular fun banter between us, but as the night progressed, I observed her mood changing in an unnatural way. Every time I took a shot, she became practically angry, and whenever she made a shot, she appeared relieved and maybe more pleased than one should be over a game. I began to offer, "May I buy you a drink?" thinking it would lighten the mood because I had made 3 shots in a row. "And no thank you," she said, then smiled at me as she ended her rejection. My fingers were sweaty as we got closer to the finish line. She was winning at this point, and all I could think about was how I was going to disappoint this beautiful woman if she won. She struck the 8 ball only a few seconds later. Well, she laughed quietly. "Looks like I won, and it's time for you to hold up your half of the bet." Her smile was dry. She appeared to be tired, restless. She took her jacket and casually threw it over her shoulder. "Are you sure you want to do this?" I asked of her. She said quickly, "Absolutely, I need to," still smiling and pleased with her victory. With a little smile, I took my keys from my pocket and began walking her to the door and outdoors. It was still pouring, but it wasn't very cold. The air was nearly palpable since it was so humid. I helped her by opening the passenger door. Realizing that practically all my cup holders were filled with empty takeout drinks, I nervously murmured under my breath, "Sorry about my car. I'm a skinny guy who can eat a lot, and I work a lot, so I eat out more than I eat at home." She didn't respond. She appeared to be eager. She acted as if she didn't care what I was saying. I ran around the front of the car and jumped inside. Something seemed off to me right away. She was staring at me with the biggest eyes I'd ever seen. As usual, she smiled, but this time it was different. Her mouth was wide, with a gap between her top and bottom teeth. I swear, her mouth's corners were practically touching her ears. "Are you prepared?" she asked gently, almost in hushed tones. The rain was still falling outside, but all I could hear was Sarah. Sure, I'm ready." With trepidation, I said. I asked myself, is this a mistake? I don't even know who she is, and she's starting to frighten me. She asked me to stop pressing my key into the ignition. I returned my keys to my lap and turned to face her. I saw the windows behind her were all cloudy as I looked around her bright eyes and bigger than ever smile. It felt as though she had a fever and the car was freezing. She radiated an unusual amount of heat. My vision returned to normal. I realized she was drooling at that point. Her hair appeared less well-kept now, more stringy and scraggly. She was having trouble breathing. "Do you need water?" In a worried tone, I asked. Her lips was the only thing that moved. "I need you, Jacob," she whined, her voice low. I never told you my name," I shouted. I was in complete panic at this moment. Her eyes began to move up and down slowly, and her drool became a reddish brown, as though it were old blood. She was still producing a tremendous amount of heat, which was beginning to penetrate the rest of the car. I felt trapped. I couldn't move because I was afraid. When I looked down at her once manicured nails at the bar, I noticed claw-like fingers with no actual nails. They were just razor-sharp skin needles. Her legs were being tapped. "I must have you," she said. Her arms were tight and stretched out, and her head was bent over. Her neck seemed to be reaching for my flesh. I shouted louder than I had ever screamed before and rushed open my car door as I heard a quick bang, bang, bang on my car window. "What the hell are you kids doing in here?" It was the bartender, the old man. He must have been checking to make sure he wasn't getting into any trouble in his parking lot, because the entire car had fogged up from Sarah's body heat. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were alone. Have a good night." I quickly turned my head around, confused as to why he wasn't running at the sight of this creature sitting next to me. She had vanished. I was alone with my no longer clear windows. Other than a little bit of her spit on my gear shifter, that was the only trace of her. Believe me, I double-checked. I wasn't going until I knew this woman, this creature, was no longer with me. I pulled an old rag from the back seat and wiped the windows clean. I started my car and headed back home. I'm still certain she's after me, for my part of the deal. In the moon, I see her smile. In the late hours, I see her shape in the shadows and highlights created by the light in my room on my empty walls. I will never return to that bar. I'll never leave my house again. But believe me when I say, I don't think these barriers will keep Sarah from finding me again. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, please give it a like and share it with your friends. Let us know your thoughts and what kind of videos you want to see in the future in the comments section. Don't forget to follow us on our social media accounts, and if you have a story to share with us, feel free to reach out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to never miss a video. Thanks again for watching.